would say it must be a Wednesday, coming off of a hot day. Yeah, I just heard you say something about it's a little hot up there in Tennessee. Well, if it's hot in Tennessee, you know
Really,
it has to be hot here in Florida. Well, Charles
without
Morse with the original Coach
a
Carter,
doubt.
where we come to you every Wednesday right here at www.youthcentralsports.com. So, original Coach Carter, it's a little hot up there, huh?
Yes, sir. We were in the 80s. Today is 79, 75 outside right now,
Yeah.
and it's 10 o'clock in the evening. So we're having some good weather, but it's warm out there. Felt good though. Nice breeze early in the morning. Later night it'll cool down, but then tomorrow's jump right back up to mid 80s. 90s around the corner.
Well, you know it's in the 90s here, without a
Without
doubt.
a standard. That's the standard operating thing for Florida. That's
Yeah,
what I was
it
telling them
is.
up here. They're talking about hot. I said, no, you haven't seen hot yet. You need to come and go to Florida. I'll show you hot.
Yeah, well, you're right about that. You're right about that. You know, a lot been going on since the last time that we talked. I mean, a lot of stuff that's been going on. I have written some stuff down, but there's some other
Hmm.
stuff that I want to talk to you about before we get into, our normal flow of our normal format. But first of all, you was telling me about the soccer there. What's going on there with the soccer?
They lost in the state tournament tonight, 1-0. They had a great run, and they lost tonight, 1-0 in a very tough game. Our tennis boys state championship. The girls were in the state finals tonight. Well, I don't know the outcome of that yet. Dance team, they're in the state finals. Um, Golf won the state championship.
Oh,
So
really?
we got a lot going on right about now. Baseball
So
made it to the state championship, but they lost. And we're starting summer basketball tryouts tomorrow. So
no,
and we'll be playing in 13 days. We'll have our first summer game. So
now,
it's back up.
for those that don't know, you got to tell them that you're up in Tennessee and it's Brentwood High School, right?
Brentwood, Tennessee. Brentwood High School in Brentwood, Tennessee. Excuse me. We're about maybe 3 blocks from Brentwood Academy. A lot of people are aware of Brentwood Academy, where we're 3 blocks south of that.
Hmm.
And we have them on our schedule this year. So it's going to be a very interesting year. We got a real good schedule. Looking forward. We played them in the summer, but we're going to play them in our regular season this year. So it's going to be interesting. Private school they are.
You, it's funny because I was intending to bring this up, and I don't know if you know this, but do you remember the basketball player what we used to call Dean the Dream Manager? Remember him?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It is funny because sometimes for whatever reason, because I kind of miss the old basketball, a lot of times. So I go and I like watch some of the old games, from back in the day with Dr. J and even some of the games because a name will pop up here and there and you go like, oh yeah, do you know? Did you know that he really struggled and had a real serious drug addiction, and he died at a very young age, Vince, which really
I
pertained
knew
to his
he had
drug
some issues.
problems.
Right. Yeah, I know he had some. They were never really clear exactly what they were. Some had assumed it was alcohol, and it could very well be a mixture. But I do know he had some serious issues that came along, and it resulted in issues that, particularly again, on alcohol or condition thereof. I never really knew that.
Yeah, I came across his name about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I was intending to ask you about him. I think about at least about two weeks ago, and I still had him up on my Wikipedia, and came across his name, and didn't realize that he had passed away. And I was like, wow, and was reading about some of his challenges, and which goes back to what I wanted to talk to you about, because I got to go to my notes, because a player that plays for Indiana, I got to call his name because he's been banned for two years. Did you hear about him?
Yeah, Tariq.
I gotta.
Was it Tariq Evans? I think it's Tariq Evans.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
and and he's a player that's been in the league for a while, Vince.
yeah. I mean, that kind of behavior sometimes surprise. Well, I'm always disappointed that first of all they have that situation. I'm not surprised sometimes that it overtakes them. Sometimes because they don't think it'll happen to them. Other times because they just can't control it.
Yeah,
And
well, you gave a very in-depth insight, because people who may be watching this for the first time, who don't know that your background and you've been dealing with people that with addiction from
hmm
alcohol and drugs, and so you're very familiar with the behavior and also the treatment, and so you come from that world in the sense of a lot of things that you, and I keep thinking and saying that you probably should write a book, but and I actually, when I was looking at the guy Evans, also came across OJ Mayo, and I had totally forgot that he had been banned, you
hmm
know, because of
hmm
his addiction, you know.
Now, sometimes too, Charles, what you're dealing with also, which kind of falls in the same category, they're using these enhancement drugs too, and those things show up, and they're on the substance ban list. So they say it's because of drug use. Sometimes they clarify it and say it's because illegal substances are on the banned substance list that they actually use. But in some cases, that the drug addiction or the alcohol addiction drives them toward these other things. And so it ends up being the same thing, but just for different reasons. A lot of guys are trying to enhance their body, quick growth, quick strength, but that stuff is banned. And they do a lot of track. They catch a lot of folk in track, trying to build up the endurance and muscles and all of that. And they do the same thing in football and even obviously basketball. A lot of times they're getting popped for that too. But if you follow that person, go ahead and follow their history. A lot of times you find drug and alcohol is in that background.
No, let me ask you this here, Vincent. This is, I'm asking because when I was coming up, around sports, playing sports, being involved in sports, and even in college, I didn't hear of ACLs, MCLs, Achilles, all of that stuff. Just, on occasion when you did hear of an injury, usually it was in the NFL, but it just seems like later on that you started hearing more about ACLs and MCLs and Achilles and all these injuries that just wasn't so popular back when I was coming up, because I never did hear about all these injuries, especially when it comes to basketball players. And then the thing is that you even hear about them in high school now. You hear about high school. The whole time that I was ever junior high and high school, I never heard not one athlete, not that it didn't happen, but I never heard of any athletes in high school ever. No one that I played with, no one that I knew of, no one that was in the papers, never heard of an ACL, MC, never heard of it. It's just
Um,
weird.
well, obviously technology and the way they address those issues have changed. I talked to a couple of people who kind of come from they're in that training, athletic training, and doctors and things. Doctors, a couple of doctors, and they're saying some of the same thing. We're seeing more, and that's something to a kid. Like one of the things I looked at in my high school, you see an awful lot of kids walking around strained calf muscles and torn leg ligaments and stuff. Functional training is going on. A lot of kids are fitness. Tennessee is one of those states where everybody's trying to get out. It's ranked real high for a fitness state. You look, drive around the city, drive around the countryside, everybody's running, riding a bike, or doing something. So we have a more active culture of people that's out there. I think, obviously science and medicine is doing a better job. I think we had some of these issues, not nearly as many, but I think we're having more now due to a couple of reasons. And one would be that we aren't preparing very well. We don't do a good job of getting in condition. Dietary enhancements or lack thereof, the body is not healing. It's not getting stronger because we don't take good. It's not being taken care of. Today, the sport, the kid, and on the other side of that, kids are getting bigger, stronger, and faster. So this means those normal hits. I know I got hit hard as a high school football player, and I tried to deliver a really hard hit. But what I've seen over the last few years, it certainly appears that it was harder than mine. And so, you got bigger, you got two big kids, 200 pounds plus guys running at each other, and they're colliding. The body's not, I mean, you can condition it and all that, but the body's not designed to take that kind of a stress. So I think now, from a protocol standpoint and a prevention, they're really diagnosing a lot of things really early. They're not taking any chances now because season-ending injuries, finding out that this was not addressed, and come to find out this kid kept playing and gave him a permanent damage. And the technology has changed now. They do a better job of being able to determine an injury, and they really err on the side of caution. But Charles, I'll take you one further, and you probably noticed this too. Our general illness in society has changed. I see more people with unsports-related diseases and stuff, and that comes a lot of times from our food, the way it's processed, and all those kind of things. So with all this great growth that we've had over the years, I think some of the drawbacks, those are some of the drawbacks that you see. Concussion, I know, I certainly believe I've been around many concussions and had one or two myself during my years of playing sports, and particularly football. And nobody really thought it was that serious. Everybody laughed because you couldn't tell how many fingers when they held up. You might say, how many fingers I got, 4, and I see 5, I see 3, or whatever. And maybe I had a momentary lapse of bad memory. But if I could clear my head,
right,
I'm back on the field.
Right.
Well, now we know that's not a good decision to make. That's not a good action to take. We also know that concussions show up later on, not always immediate. So we've grown in our information. We're trying to do a better job of preparing kids to try to limit injury, but it just seems like you said it's all over the place. I don't remember knee injuries the way I hear now. And again, doesn't mean they weren't there. I just don't remember hearing that.
Oh, well,
I know when I was coming up, I had minimum injury, but the group of guys I grew up with, and I can only speak for my group, we trained hard. I mean, we really trained hard. And what I'm finding now is that I work with young athletes, that's a key. How well you train, how well conditioned you are. As you look at your body, strengthening the quote unquote weak areas and understanding what that is. And I think we've shared many times on this on our broadcast. There was a study done where a doctor used to take kids at early ages, and he put it into a science, and he could look at the way their body was shaped, and kind of determine what sport they should play. A lot of people laughed at him, thought it was crazy, but statistics bear it out that he was hitting it right on the head. His suggestion. Now, kids might go ahead and play another sport anyway, but what he was saying, your body's not built for football. Your body's built for baseball. Now, this kid may not like baseball, but that's what he was saying. And some of that is true, but I also think how well you take care of it makes a big difference. One of the things that you look at on the NBA level, they work a lot. If there's a minimum effort that they look at, it's lower body. And where do most of your injuries occur? Lower body, from waist down. So I think that technology is out there. There's a website that I go to. It's called Conditioning, Strength and Conditioning. That's pretty much what they talk about. And they talk about the analytics and the science of it. and the statistical data that supports when you do what you do, how you do it, how often you do it. And I'm trying to take some of that information and use that for dealing with the kids that I deal with. So it's become high tech, but I kind of agree with you. I remember injury angles, and I actually remember more blisters on on your feet than hurt ankles.
Yeah, well,
But so we technology's changed. The shoe is
the only
better.
thing that we
You know,
saw was, like you said, was blisters and sprained ankles. That was it.
yeah,
There was
yeah.
mostly just sprained ankles. If the severity of an injury that I knew of was a sprained ankle, and that was really it. I mean, nobody that I knew playing through 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, and in college, that was it. I didn't know of anybody out with any serious injuries. Didn't hear about any serious injuries of a friend of a friend of a friend. Didn't hear about anybody in the conference that you played that a player had was going to miss the season because of a serious. You didn't hear any of that.
Well, I
All
do
of a
remember
sudden,
hearing.
years later, you started hearing about MCLs and ACLs and Achilles and this and that and that and this, and it's just like, it's just different
You, but
now.
you had, I think you were having them. They were just misdiagnosed. People really didn't know what they were looking at. A lot of time, that's what you hear trainers say. Now you hear doctors say the same thing. Years ago, we might have missed that, or we might not have known how to treat that. So your technology has, our IQ, if you will, has grown significantly. I do remember hearing of those kinds of injuries, but they just were not in my circle. Nobody that I knew. Now concussions, yeah, I've
Yeah,
seen what I now know to have been some very severe concussions. I've seen a couple of broken legs, and a lot of ankle injuries. But we also found we had hip injury that we didn't know we really didn't know how severe that was because he had an ankle injury, but he also had a hip injury. Where the ankle healed, he could run. We didn't pay attention to the hip because he was still able to do that. A lot of times kids don't report injuries either until by the time you get it, it's much more severe now than it was when it initially took place, so we could have addressed that issue then. So a lot of those combinations have changed. Um, in my circle, we had some real hard hits, sprains, maybe, and a few broken bones. But then again, when I got to college, I heard much more. But nowadays, I think I'm even closer to it because of multiple sports. Statistics show that girls soccer and even basketball, you have more concussions and injuries on that side than boys. So the girls are because they play some of the sports that they play, whether it be soccer or whether it be lacrosse and stuff like that. They're getting some high numbers of concussions. In fact, last concussion protocol that I took to update my concussion protocol, they were talking about the numbers of female athletes that are being injured more. So you got more kids playing. The sports have changed to become more skilled at what they're doing. So I think that attributes to that. And then on the negative side, I don't think we train as well as and we really probably weren't training that well then, but it's a lot of high tech stuff out there now. But a lot of kids are learning technique. They're not learning how to care for themselves. Although it's getting better.
right. I want to ask you quickly before we get into some of the NBA playoff, but I want to ask you, what was the deal with Ezekiel Elliott and what was going on with the fact, he wasn't arrested, but he was handcuffed. Do you know what was going on? Did you hear
Got into a
about,
physical
what was going on?
altercation, and he supposedly there was a comment and that he had resisted arrest or something to that effect. I've not gotten all the details on that yet because I was kind of taken back by that. He's generally kind of quiet, don't make too much noise. But that took me back, and I just got a quick glimpse of that, so I haven't had a chance to look at it closely. but some of the earlier conversation, that's what I heard. But I think it's got to be a little more than that.
Yeah. Well, it evidently somebody was being nice to him because he was placed in handcuffs and they decided, go home, man. I'm guessing that's what happened. And then,
Yeah, a lot of times things that happen to those guys, it could have been, I don't know. I can't. I mean, you've had situations where people have gotten, there's been some pushing and shoving about pictures being taken, autographs being given, and that they don't want to be disturbed, and somebody forces an issue, and or he says whatever, and then they get them all excited. So I don't know though. In fact I'm quickly taking a look here to see if I have any updated information on that because I don't find anything at the moment. But that was it. You never know.
one of the other
Wait a
things
minute.
that I,
Wait a minute.
one of the other
It
things,
had to do with him on a security guard. He
okay,
was handcuffed at a musical festival after knocking security guard to the ground. Um, Let me see what they say real quick here. Then out in Las Vegas,
hmm
and he ran.
he's in Vegas.
It can be seen arguing. Now, supposedly, he was arguing with a woman who would later been identified as his girlfriend. While the altercation
Uh-oh.
does not become physical, it then gets into the face of a security officer and used his forearm to push him into a metal gate. So it may not have been. Hold on, I got a little video here. Let me quickly take a quick look at this video. Uh,
Hey, Vince,
mm-hmm.
Vince,
Yeah.
Marcia Flagler says hi.
Hey, Marcia.
Yeah.
That's my buddy there. Now, me and Marcia go way back, way back.
Yeah, she's saying hi to you. So, let me
Okay.
see. I saw Marcia. I'm trying to think. Last time I saw her.
Probably at a Magic game.
No, I was at some event she was at, and I was taking some pictures. But anyway,
Marcia gets around, so there's no telling. No telling. So it came off to be more of a misconduct situation, and I think once they evaluated the tape, they didn't think it was anything that serious. But the mere fact that he got detained and handcuffed makes news.
yeah. Want to just ask you this: did you see the story coming out of Ohio State of the doctor? I think it's Richard Strauss. I think it's Strauss,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Uh-huh.
From 1979 to 1997.
Okay.
Okay. 16 different sports. This guy molested over 177 boys.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see that story?
Yes.
And then they said that they knew of it. They knew about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think he eventually committed suicide. But yeah, knowing how our coach is, I think Ohio State is going to be paying out the yin yang some big money, just like Michigan State, Michigan, yeah.
Well,
So
again,
it's
society's attention to detail has definitely changed. That it's amazing that could go on without someone reporting it. But somehow they convince the kids it's not in your best interest to tell it. You got young athletes trying to compete, so you can easily, and I don't mean to insult them, but I understand the need to compete, and you want any edge you can get. So you don't want any confusion, you don't want no fuss. Hey, listen, not that bad. I want to play. Um, but I have a harder time excusing adults when they know and they know it's wrong. Same situation that happened in Penn State. How can you ignore that when you're damaging the young lives of kids simply so that we can win? We don't want to create a problem when you already got a problem. Because one of the things I would ask now of all the kids that were molested, I would love to see what happens to some of those kids what people saying about them, how their lives, what impact has that had on their lives, and nobody's talking about that now. And are they able to get any assistance at all from anybody for the trauma that they've gone through? That leads to some of these addictions and stuff that we talk about because they're trying to cope. So it's harder for me to see how. And I understand how people turn their heads sometimes, but that many kids over that period of time, and you knew somebody conscious should have, in my opinion, should have spoke up about that and say, hey, listen, we got to at least go talk to the person if you don't want to report them. But bottom line, the right thing to do would have been to report them.
It's and you know the answer. I mean, it's just so interesting, and I think it's even proven now, even more so when it just comes to money, and when you a big school like Ohio State and Michigan State and Michigan and UCLA and all the major schools that bring in all this money when it comes to sports and athletes, and it just for some, and we know it just always seems to be about the money, and long as the money is coming in, then everything else is in third or fourth or fifth place, to the point that it just boggles the mind. Where do you draw the line for oneself when it comes to what's right and what's wrong? You know,
That's
I mean,
that's a personal situation.
right,
You know,
right.
you
Well,
got a guy sitting there
that's what I'm
looking at
saying.
it.
Yeah,
The school
that's what I'm
has to
saying. What I'm
create.
saying, because that's my point of trying to say, where do you draw the line when it comes to right and wrong, man? It's just
Well, you have to have governing bodies that enforce laws and rules because you can't just give it to that individual that she, they're going to police themselves. I mean, you know, given most cases, I think statistics would bear out they're not going to report themselves. They're
well,
just not going to do it.
well,
So
what,
somebody's got to be watching. Has got to be putting stringent rules in and paying attention. And you want to train and govern people who would do what the right thing. That's the ultimate idea of having that. You can't fault people when you put these programs together. They're not fun and games anymore. It's about money. It's about cost of operating them and being the best that you can be, because the more games you win, the more titles, the more money you get. That's the same thing in corporate world. The more you sell, the more money you make. But what the struggle is using people to the point of disrespecting them for who they are for the gain. That's the problem. So where does the greed come in? And it's not because we make money. It's because the amount of money we want to make, and at what cost are we willing to do that? So, like for instance, in the current probing that's going on the bribery, the FBI clearly stated that it didn't. Not only are they having a problem dealing with the coaches out there, they're having a problem dealing with the universities. Yeah, and they had a problem dealing with the NCAA to the point that they don't even trust the NCAA. That the NCAA would not even tell the truth. It said what the NCAA would do is try to cover it up. You know, they would do a little in-house policing, but they want to cover it up because they don't want to affect their revenue stream. They don't want to affect the integrity of what they're doing. But I get that, but at what cost? What is your commodity? What is it that you make your money off of? That student athlete. And if you're not going to protect that student athlete, then I don't know how I could trust you, because that's where you make your money. That's why you've got this argument, and it looks like it's coming around now, where they want to pay athletes for their images now. I mean, because that's what this is about. It's not just the people paying to come through the gate at the stadium and paying exorbitant prices for a ticket and parking and food. It's the uniform, it's the jersey that they buy, it's the hat that they buy with the name and emblem on it, or the face of that individual with his name on there. That's millions and millions of dollars that's bypassing that athlete, who in many cases can't eat this week for whatever be the reason, but the school is getting fat. That's what the issue is. Because I understand supporting the program. It costs to fly them all over the country and play tough schedules and get all that television exposure and all of that. I get that. But what I don't get is when you take the very thing that you say you value the most and mistreat that. That's where I struggle.
well, I wanted to ask you, because as you and I'll put it like this: as you built your staff,
Mm-hmm.
and and I don't know if you remember how large your staff was, but when it came down to the pro-am, when it came down to midnight basketball and all of that, your staff, how did you go about building your staff in that trust? Because there was a point where to me, you could just walk in and everything was organized and it was ready, set, go.
Well, that's the illusion that we try to present. And I think to a certain point, that's the way it really worked. And that's the Marcias of the world. We had who were invested in what we were doing, who cared about it. And Marcia, when I came to Midnight Basketball, Marcia was there already. So she really, we learned what Midnight Basketball was from the founder of Midnight Basketball, and that was Arthur Jackson. So we've been working on. We worked on his dream, of his vision of what Midnight Basketball was to be, and then we enhanced it and we took it on personal. And we were seeing it through his eyes. Then we start seeing it through our eyes, and then we start getting people to see it through our eyes. They start looking at it through my eyes of what we thought it should be. So we had people who were invested, who cared about the kids that they worked with, who cared about what the program represented, and we learned to enjoy each other, which meant we would enjoy the kids that we worked with, and we enjoyed what we did. And that's what I hope people would see. That's what they saw when they worked with us. But it took a lot of work. A lot of pride, but we worked at it. It didn't just happen. We worked at it.
Right,
we tried to put the right people in the right position and give them the right support. When I became a part of the leadership of the program, I handpicked a lot of people based on character, what I knew about them, what I've seen them display. We promoted from within. People that we knew that they understood the value, they understood the purpose, and they had the integrity. And then we constantly trained, we constantly reinforced, we constantly reminded that what I always believed is, if you believed in this program, then let somebody else see it. And what you just talked about is what we wanted. That's the image we wanted to project. We put on a tournament in Polk County at Polk Community College.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I got one there. Of the you were there at that event.
Right.
And the
right.
guy that we rented the gym from, he told me, he called me, and he said, "Coach, you can have our gym anytime you want to." And I was, I said to myself, yeah, I'm paying you. Of course you can. But his thing was, he said, I've been doing this for a while. That you guys, once we signed the document, we were done. Once we signed the agreement, he said, y'all brought everything you need. You brought ticket people, your own cleaning staff, your own security. He said, I've never seen it done like that. That's what we were shooting for. That when we were a one-stop shop. We brought everything we needed when we came. We didn't ask you for nothing. When we had you doing that, they were shocked. They said, well, what does he need? He don't need nothing. He just need a spot to set up in, and I'll take care of that. I don't need you to give me. I got the gym. Now, once I get the gym, we'll take care of it from there. So that took a lot of time. That's 20 plus years of pouring into every person that came on board, getting them to commit, getting them to care, getting them to see how important it was that even though this was quote unquote a part-time job, we were heavily invested in that part-time job. And we worked at it every day, and we did a lot of training, a lot of support of one another. I was fortunate enough to been there during the earlier years too, and been a part of some of the growth, and had a chance to be a part of that last big run that we had. It was fun, and it really was, in all honesty, kind of like what you said. We had got to a point where all I had to do, I went to watch the event. I went to watch the game myself, because everything else was taken care of by somebody else.
Yeah, but I mean, because remember, you used to come in, and because we used to do the announcing, because we streamed the game and we recorded the game.
Right.
So you came in and you did the interviews. But let me quickly give you this right here. As you was talking about Marcia, right? Mm-hmm. This is what she just said. She said, a great boss, a leader, has been a terrific and impact the lives of many young men and women. I was blessed to be under his leadership with Arthur Jackson Midnight Basketball of Central Florida. I witnessed firsthand the dedication and passion for helping helping young lives through wonderful programs, and a coach, a generally concerned individual. And she goes on with more, but she's talking about what I always say is there something that God gave you? You know, mom did a good job. And she also said Arthur knew Vince was the perfect right hand for him. God knew that Vince was who he was and best to carry on the legacy. Envisioned once he had called Arthur Jackson on, and Vince continued and took it to the ultimate level. There you go.
Well, I mean, I appreciate that from Marcia because she was there with me. And she was in that whole, she had my back. I always knew that no matter what, she had my back.
Wait a minute, Vince. Wait a minute. I got to finish, which is the best line. Basketball is more than just a game. Much respect, gratitude, and love. Got to give it to you.
Amen. I mean, that's what we work for. That's what we came to work for. That's why we punched in. And you think about that was a weekend commitment that they made, all of us made, but mostly them made that commitment every week to be there, to look in that kid's face and reassure him that we cared. We cared. How do you know we cared? Because we showed up every weekend. Every weekend. And I think the kids learned to trust that. Again, I saw Midnight Basketball through Arthur's eyes. And then later on, they saw Midnight Basketball through my eyes. And it just went down the lines. Marcia was one of my supervisors, if you will. And I use that term loosely. She was part of the impact team, if you will. And people saw that group that she impacted saw Midnight Basketball through her eyes. And so everybody had that vision. Everybody was connected through the vision, and you had to love it. I mean, one of the best jobs I've ever had is I'm working with basketball day in and day out, kids playing ball and all that. How does it get better than that? But I love the people, man. That's one of the things I miss. Not only the kids, but the staff. And we had some great times. I mean, it was a big family, and we, just like any family, we had our falling outs and we had our disagreements. But when the light came on, you know, it was showtime. Everybody was on board. You could never see the crack in our armor, and it was probably one of the most unique things that I've been a part of. And you know, and a lot of people gave me credit for some of what we did. I take the credit on behalf of the people that work with me, because nobody knows them, so they put me as the face. I'll take that, but the true effort came from those people that people didn't see. Somebody told me that I had the easiest job in the world. I said, you think that? The reason my job looks so easy is because the people behind me work so hard. And it makes me look like I got it all going on. But it was them.
Now, Vince, I just had a friend of mine who's up in Danville, Virginia, and a few other people.
Familiar with that area.
Hello, Teresa. But I want to say, for those who don't know, quickly explain what Midnight Basketball was. You gotta, I mean,
that's a hard.
You know, I know some people know, but you gotta quickly explain Midnight Basketball.
Midnight Basketball was an opportunity to take. It started out in taking kids off the street, down African men in high crime rate areas. Excuse me. The idea was to take them off the street, and we used basketball as the hook. And from there, we tried to teach skills, personal development skills and life skills, and build cohesiveness, a team effort through the sport of basketball. But it grew to be larger than that. It grew to be a place to be, a haven, a place of support. And we still played some great basketball was played there, but a lot of great friendships were there. And we grew on to talk about, we started talking about life in a whole, and it just grew and grew and grew. So it was like a club in a sense, but we took it, we saved a lot of lives. And how do I know that? The number of suicides that, prevention that we were a part of, the number of kids that got rehab were able to go to rehab. Domestic situations, alcoholism and drug, all that was being done right there in the community on a day in and day out basis through midnight basketball while we were playing basketball. We
But
grew to 21 locations at one time. We were one of the only programs at the Center for Drug-Free Living at the time we were in 4 counties. The center
right,
was only in
but
two
but
counties at one time.
but Vince, what you also need to explain was that, and help me to say this right, for the people who came in, who a lot of people didn't want to deal with because they had earned the respect, and then for those who said, no, these guys shouldn't be here
Oh
because
no.
of the reputation they had outside the gym. But once they came to you, once
Yeah.
you talk about that.
Oh man, we Marcia probably got some stories she can tell too. But we were one of the things I was most proud of. We took the knuckleheads and made them soft heads because when they would come in, they would come into our place. We demanded we gave them respect, number one, and we demanded that everybody treat them with respect. But on the other side, you got to give me some respect too. So we had a set of rules on how you conduct yourself, and it was amazing how they would conform to that. And we were in some tough neighborhoods where they drinking and smoking and doing drugs right outside, but it wasn't allowed inside. Profanity, pants had to be pulled up. You can't come in there and with your hat on all that. And they fought it at first, but because of our commitment to what we were doing and what our belief was, they conformed. If only just for a couple of hours, they conformed to it. Because I can remember a kid standing outside told me he wasn't going to take his hat off. I said, well, you can't come in then. If I wear my hat. I said, I don't have a problem with it, but you can't come in the gym with your hat on. That's one of our rules. Well, he said, well, then forget you. I said, okay, good. But every time I looked outside, he was standing there peeping in the window. He wanted to come and play so bad. So finally, he came in. He said, can I talk to you for a minute? I said, sure. He asked me if I step outside. Now, many people would think, man, you shouldn't do that. But maybe I was naive, but I went on out there anyway. I said, yeah, well, what can I do for you? And he said, man, if I take my hat off and pull my pants up, can I come in? I said, shoot, absolutely. He said, well, I don't have a belt. I said, well, we'll find a way to. So what we did was we got some rope, tied his pants up, and he came in and played. And the thing that made it fantastic is the next week he brought 12 people with him, and he policed all 12 of them. Hey, don't say no bad words in here. Don't put your hat on and pull your pants up. We stand there going, okay, let's play ball. See, that's what this was about. Trust. He didn't like it, but he wanted to play. And he went and got his boys, and they came in, and man, that thing grew and grew, and they were the police. We didn't have to do anything but open the door. But that's growing pains. I've been challenged. I've had people who want to take me outside. And okay, let's do it then. Let's go outside. We don't have to go that far. We can do it right here. We don't have to go outside. And it's confronting them, meeting them where they were, but also treating them with respect. And that takes a lot of dedication. But once you get it, once they trust you, you earn that trust from them. Then they took that trust, them being the participants, excuse me, and they passed it along to the other participants, to the fact that they policed themselves. They knew if they created a ruckus, this program would go away. Because a lot of people didn't believe in what we were doing at first. They were saying, well, these kids can't be saved. And we said, that's not true. Wow. They're not that bad. Wow. They're not that bad. They're bad, but they're not that bad. And so we were in neighborhoods that people didn't want to be involved in. We had supported Jared Emmons. He wasn't even, I think he may have been a captain at the time, maybe a patrol captain at that, who supported Arthur when he first got started. We started at the Davis Armory, which is the old downtown red. And bringing in, I remember being down there where they were, we must have had 200 kids in the gym one night, and the police had a warrant for about 30 of them. And we told them, said, listen, you can get them, but you can't get them in here, and you can't get them on the property. And once they drive off this property, hey, you do what you got to do. And they agreed to do that. So wow. So those kids come to midnight basketball as a safe haven. You're not going to be bothered here as long as you follow the rules. And when we were working in Cocoa over there, and they called us over there one time. We were in a bad neighborhood over there. And we convinced the police that don't arrest him in here. And we had the police in the building, and these guys were coming in. They would look at each other because they know one another, but they know they weren't going to be bothered unless they broke the rules. Now, once they got outside, he took off, started running. The police started chasing him. I said, "Hey, I mean, I got nothing to do with that part, but you can't
Okay.
bother me in here, you know."
Let me
So,
let me read this here for you. This is Marcia. By the way,
okay,
now I've had Marcia on the show, but I had her on the Journey 2020, right? Now, as long as I've been knowing you in Midnight Basketball, and plus, I met Marcia at Cookman back when she played ball at
right,
Cookman. Okay, back when I met Ken Moore. This was I won't even talk about how long ago that was. Okay, Marcia. So that's our secret. But but back when she played ball at Cookman is when I met her, and I didn't know that she worked with you with Midnight Basketball the way that as you tell the story. But
oh yeah,
we need to have her come on the show because it sounds like she can give more in-depth stories. But she just wrote, she said, we were, and always were family. Nothing has been or will be able to come close to those wonderful years being in those areas with kids no one would take the time out for. We were the ones that did more than talk about wanting to show how much we care. We were out there with them. We taught respect and love through examples, is what she said.
That's so true. That is very true, and that's and that's something I take with me now as I coach kids. I mean, it's always been that was proven to me years ago, and I hopefully I've been able to, as I move from one group to another. And that's something I've always taken with me is respect. Is teaching them, giving them respect, earning their respect, and treating them as human beings. I may not like what they are, but at the end of the day, you're still human. And we're going to start from there and work our way back to everything else. And I think that's one of the strong points that we had. And I think to her point, I love the point that she mentioned that we were in neighborhoods where people were afraid to come in. They couldn't understand how could you be out there at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning with these kids? They're not bothering us. They wouldn't let anybody bother us. And they understood that we cared because we were there, because we didn't have to be. And Marcia's point, nobody wanted to deal with them, and we took them in. I've seen them at the door. I remember the guy came in. He had marijuana all in his clothing. We told him, said, "Man, you can't come in like that. You can't do that." And he understood. He left, and about an hour later, he come back, had on a whole different shirt. The smell was gone. He said, "Can I come in now?" Now I'm thinking to myself, you want to come so bad. You want to come in and play basketball so bad. You went, did whatever you had to do to be able to come in. Yeah, you can come on in. You can come on in. I mean, that kind of stuff. I remember working in Kissimmee where they were drinking, and we didn't allow them to drink. We were on the outdoor court. They were hiding the smoke, the drink in the bushes off the court. And they would do what we asked. Can we get a break? Yeah, they'd run over. I said, that's unique, man. I mean, that was unique. I mean, and they protected us in those neighborhoods. They would walk us to the cars we needed to. They wouldn't allow anybody come in. We would talk about the rules of Midnight Basketball. They would talk about the rules of how you're going to live inside this building. You're not going to bother them. Them being Midnight Basketball staff. And they knew all of us. They knew all of us. They protected us. They cared about us because we cared about them first. To Marcia's point, excellent point. I mean, we were there. I mean, rain, a storm. I mean, if it was humanly possible to get to the location and open it, we opened.
Right.
I don't care what the weather conditions were. The only way we didn't open is that it was not permissible because of weather or whatever. And they could count on that. That's the one thing I was told many times, that they believed us when we said we'll be here. They believed that. They said, you guys have shown no matter what, somebody gonna be there to open that door so we can come in and play ball. And now toward the end of Charles, what was really exciting is to watch those kids who were there from the beginning. Their kids were coming to Midnight Basketball. My daddy told me about this. My mama used to, and we used to hear that also. And then I started seeing kids. They oh man, you look like your daddy. Yeah, my daddy used to, Oh man, that was unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. But a joy to be there with them to take those steps, but and to be able to work with the caliber of people that I had the chance to work with. They made me a better person, without a doubt.
Right.
They really helped me to grow in to be a much stronger man, a much more committed man, because I watched my team give their all, and I couldn't give anything less than what they were giving.
Wow. Wow. Well, we definitely got to have Marcia come on the show.
Yeah,
And
Marcia got some stories now. Don't, no, she got some stories. I need to be on there with you when you bring us. I got because
no, no,
Marcia got some
no. I'm
stories.
saying she's gonna come and join us. She got to come and join us. So uh, so she can share some of the stories. Because I don't
Yeah, she.
because I think people now starting to understand what midnight basketball was really all about. And it was around for
We were
20 years, right?
20 plus years.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think we shut down at 23 years, 23 and a half years. We were trying to get to 25, but we were not successful due to funding issues that we missed our 25th. I was there 20. Actually, we made 24 years. Now I was there 22 years, 22, 23 years.
And see, and that's the sad part because as you sit and you tell the story, and then you hear about what we hear about, then you go, well, how come something like this is not funded, or why would you have to struggle
Yeah,
for funding? I mean, I
it
can,
was.
I can, well, Vince, I can answer that question, but
mm,
we would have to go to the political side, and that's not what this show is about.
yeah,
But
that's true.
right,
But I will say this: some of our former team members are working with. I think it's called Ball After Dark or After something like that. That several of our former team members are working with, and I actually got approached uh, this week. I'm supposed to have a conversation with a person who's interested in reviving midnight basketball,
okay,
and they were sent to me, and I'm going to have the initial conversation just to kind of understand what they think they want to do and try to give them a vision. And then I'm going to bring my team members in and let them really talk to them. And so they can really get a true perspective of what it is. It's going to be hard to duplicate that though. And I don't mean that negative, but I mean, just think that was a unique situation. Uh, we had a lot of buy-in. We had a lot of support. We earned it though. Nobody gave it to us. Believe me, we earned it. But we had partnerships all over the place. I mean, we cut a lot of firsts. We did a lot of. I thought our tournaments were top notch. We got our pro-am ended up being one of the top pro-am programs in the nation, which I didn't realize that. We were they ranked us in the top 5 in the nation. That's against the Drew League out in California and everything. And when we first kicked that off, our Christmas tournament was ranked top in the country at one point in time, especially on
oh yeah,
this
man, you
on the
used to
East
bring in
Coast.
some good teams, man. You used to bring in
Oh,
some
bring
teams
some serious,
from
yeah,
from up north and all of that.
all over the place. I mean, so
Yeah.
we had a big time Easter tournament, and it got we were doing so well. Everybody chimed in, so we got out. I mean, so we cut a lot of teeth, a lot of relationships that were built. We gave
But
out
imagine what
scholarships to
that would be
kids.
like now, Vince.
Oh
Imagine what
man,
that would be like now, especially with the streaming and all of that, man.
yeah,
Man,
boy,
oh my
it
goodness.
would be unbelievable now. While you kidding in the tournaments and stuff that we put on to be able to put that up in today's market with the media exposure that we would have through live streaming and that kind of stuff would be unbelievable. In
Yeah.
fact, Charles, could you imagine with today's technology and just some of the games that took place in the midnight basketball program? There was some fantastic games that took place that should have been on video somewhere. I'm talking about athletes. You seeing some of the top athletes that you've never heard of before. Some of them, he's out there playing a high caliber ball that you'd have been on the edge of your seat.
Well,
You know,
and Mount Verde was always part of your tournament, which
the
where
early
Ben
parts,
Simmons
the early
came
part,
from.
they were,
It,
yeah, when they the
yeah.
early part, yep, it sure was. They were a part there. Um, we had we were blessed. We were blessed. We were very blessed. I consider it to be an honor to have been involved and more importantly, I considered it being a real honor to work with the group of people that I work with. They were truly, truly dedicated. They cared.
All right.
They
Well,
cared.
Marcia just said that she's going to come on the show, so maybe
Okay,
we can get
good.
her to come on next week. So
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
that'd be
yeah, yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, maybe next. I get. You know what? I have a number. Plus, yeah. Okay. Okay. Plus, I can reach out to her on Facebook. So yeah. So
Right.
we're gonna try to make it happen next week. So next week, so we can finish up and have some more conversations about midnight basketball. And then you can also get into the pro-am because people out there don't know how successful the pro-am was here in the summer
Yeah.
here in Orlando. How some of the
Top
top
notch.
NBA players would come in and play and would have some serious games, man.
We were very fortunate, and I really just want to throw this guy out there. He was an NBA official called Eli Rowe. Eli was a NBA. He's since retired. He was a former NBA official, and he was our booking guy. He brought some of the same guys that you see on TV. We saw them. They were out there officiating our games. And some of the kids that were coming up, going to the G League and doing Division I college ball. A lot of them cut their teeth. 3 or 4 guys got into the NBA through our summer league from out there officiating. And I see some on TV now. I was in Kentucky at a team camp and ran into 2 of the guys that are NBA officials and who had worked our summer league, where I walked in the gym and we stopped and stared at each other, and they were looking at me like, Coach Carter. I'm saying, Fred, is that you? And, we were amazed that we knew each other. I see them on TV all the time. I've seen them out in Vegas. I've seen them at the Portsmouth. I mean, it's just been amazing. The quality and what Eli brought to the table was a quality that has been matched. We didn't have nothing against high school officials, but we had the top end of college, the guys trying to get to the G League, and NBA officials, guys trying to get to that level. We had them right there. In fact, there's a guy to be on TV on the NBA, the head official, the guy with the glasses and the white beard, goatee, who does the replay out of Secaucus.
Right.
Where he and the guy that works with him, I met them at the pro-am at the Smith Center right there in Orlando. They had come down to win. We had a guy at the Daytona named Eric Lewis, who is an NBA official now. He's doing some of the finals games. Told them about us. They were over at the Magic Center doing when they used to have the summer league for the Magic NBA teams, and they came over, and he really gave us a heck of a compliment. He really complimented us on the talent that we had on the floor, the skill level, and how well organized we were. He said, "This is one of them." He said, "You guys are on the ball." So it really built our ego up and made us work harder.
All right, well,
made us work even harder with a good product.
You said, "Well, this is what Marcia said." Vince led us to the level of setting the president a standard of a brand. What man? You said a brand of your own is what she's saying. A brand of
we
your
said
own,
a brand of our own
of excellence.
We said a brand of our own. Yeah.
Huh?
I'd have to agree with her that we did set that it was that high of an integrity issue about how it was done. I mean, we took it seriously. We took it real serious. I mean,
well, Vince. I mean, to be honest, I came in when everything was set up, and I was. That's why I said what I said, because I was impressed. Because it's just like you walk in and everything was set, everything was done. It's just like you walk in, and it was kind of like, oh, okay. I mean, it was ready, set, go. I mean, you had people in place. And actually, you want to know what really impressed me the most, Vince?
Okay.
And I'm being honest.
Okay.
Was how you had things set up to deal with the true knuckleheads or the problems.
Those are my guys. Those are my guys. Somebody's got to care, and I was the one that cared about those guys. They made my day. They made me laugh, and right. I think I had them laughing every now and then too. And they made it real for me. They made it worthwhile, and they made it real. I mean, when you say, "What are you doing? What kind of impact did you have?" Everybody pull up numbers, and And that was one of the things that we argue about all the time is the numbers and how many people are you impacting. I said, but you know what? You need to go out there and be with me in the street and listen to what they say.
Right.
Let them tell you what kind of impact is going on. That's what we fed off of. Not the analytic numbers, not the
Oh,
not
right.
the
Yeah.
accumulative number and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that
You and I
looks good on
understand that.
paper. Yeah, but we fed off of when that kid walked in that gym and told me one night, Coach, if this wasn't here, I don't know where I'd be. You know, and that had an impact on that. That was early on, and that was
And
one of the
see,
things I knew that we were doing something right.
And see, let me say this in reference to what you just said, and we've talked about this on the show before. When certain people don't understand and they cannot relate to the challenges and what's really going on and how you can impact and how you can touch different lives in different ways, because somehow or another it's supposed to be this cookie cutter and we're all supposed to be able to operate and do things the same way, and that's not real in any form or fashion of life. When I tell you that I know for a fact that God put certain people in place, because in my neighborhood, these coaches that had the impact on me, I know why they were there, because God placed them there. And in my neighborhood, I know the impact that these coaches had on these kids. And if it wasn't for the sport, if it wasn't for sports,
Right.
their lives would have been different. But
No question.
the impact that these coaches had on these kids just simply because of the sport, because
Right.
they was able to touch them and talk to them and direct them, and they looked for, because the coaches were the father figures.
Right.
And so when you don't understand that, then you take sports out, and that's like crazy, because you don't understand, you don't get it.
You know, some of the principles, and this is something Marcia can speak to. In addition to, she works with, she's been a counselor and she's worked in addictions and things as well, from alcohol and drug addictions and all of that. She can talk about the principle of sport applies to recovery as well. The principle of sports works with relationship. The principle of sport, to me, works in life every day. And that's the same principle that we use to reach out to these kids, whether we were talking about a misunderstanding between two people or an addiction or whatever. It was all the same principle: respect, communication, building relationships. Those, to me, is the fundamental things of successful groups of people, group dynamics, in my opinion. I think that's what we work from as a group, and that's what we gave to the people that we work with. And it started out with being able to communicate. Let's build a relationship. Even if it's an adversarial relationship, at least we have a relationship. That's a place for us to start. And we built some of those too. I know I got some. I had some of those. That's the way I built. That was my initial reaction to them. It was adversarial. They didn't like me, and they didn't like what I stood for, and I didn't like what they were doing, and that's where we got started from. And then at the end, we were like BFFs, you know. But I do want to say, as successful as it was, and I want to paint a real picture, it was hard work. It did not happen overnight. There was no miracle, you know, and to it, we didn't wave a wand and it got that way. That was a lot of hard work. That was a lot of one-on-one. It was a lot of support. It was a lot of long nights, covering for each other. When one person was out, somebody else steps in and comes in, because we want to make sure the doors were open. A lot of one-on-one. I believed in a lot of one-on-one FaceTime. You know, I tried to interact with every member of our team in their environment. Not when it was convenient for me, but when it was convenient. They were working over in Cocoa that night. I was in Cocoa. They were working in Titusville that night, and I needed to see them, or they were down in Melbourne, or they were on the east side of Orlando, or the west side, or wherever they were. They didn't have to come to me. I went to them.
Right.
Because I went FaceTime. I went one-on-one time, so they know that I was accessible. And all my team knew, all of us knew that I was available 24/7. You just make sure if you call me at 2 in the morning, don't go to bed, because I'm going to call you back.
Well, that's the thing, Vince. That's what made it successful. That's why she's saying what she's saying, because of the spirit that you have. And more important, you care.
Yeah.
You care.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know,
I care.
you're not judging.
But we care. Yeah, we care.
Well, yeah. Because, I'm saying you care, which means you had people around you that care. That's what made it work.
I agree, 100%,
Right.
100%. They cared about the bottom line. They cared the product, and I do agree with Marcia. I think we have built a brand that was so strong that it was recognizable in the community. People knew our brand. They knew what we stood for. Um, I, I I have interacted with people who didn't necessarily know me but knew the brand. And say, "Oh, you work with that? Oh, yeah. Well, we've heard about that. We've seen that. When we were at a tournament or we were at a whatever. Or I went to a midnight basketball site and da da da. I mean, the brand was that strong. It was that strong, and that's a lot of hard work. That's a
Okay.
hard.
Well,
That's a lot of people carry.
we will get a chance to hear some Marcia stories next week and
Yeah.
talk more about midnight basketball. Something that was very, 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 very positive, and the impact of impacting so many lives.
Hmm.
Even to this day,
Yeah.
it was. I think you said for 24 years.
Yeah. 24 years.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And you know what, Charles, too, and I'll leave it at this because I know we we talk about the impact on the kids, but it was a huge impact on each one of us too. Because what people sometimes forget, we're people too, and we have issues and struggles in life, and we were able to find a way to connect to each other that we could help each other through his or her struggles, be there to support each other while we supported those kids and put our efforts out there. We were supporting each other as well, and which I thought was very unique. And we took care. We were a family, and those kids supported us in our struggles. When we struggled, we were sick. They want to know where we were. What can I do? We had sometimes staff out. They want to jump in and help because the staff was out, and they want to know how the staff doing. What do I need to do? That doesn't happen too often. But we took good. So we were impacted too by what we did. It came back to us. It came back to us, and I thought that was very unique.
Okay. Well, okay, Vince, real quick, because we're going to go over my quick notes, and so you got to give me
Okay.
like the real short answers real quick. All right?
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Now, we're going to talk more in depth about this next week, but, well, first of all, we got to know Tiger Woods didn't make the cut at the PGA. Okay. Were you
Yeah.
surprised about that?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, big letdown probably from the other, but I thought he was up on an upswing. Didn't have a good day. It happens. I still think he's relevant though.
Okay. We're going to talk more about this next week, but the drama after you heard the Magic Johnson interview with the Lakers,
Yeah.
we can talk more about that soap opera and how crazy that is.
There's more to that. There's a lot more to that I think than what we're hearing, and it will manifest itself later. I do believe that Rob is okay. We'll talk about it more, but I think there's some genuine concern there, and I think you're going to see it play itself out.
Right. Flip Saunders' son, Ryan, was signed to become coach of the Timberwolves.
I think that's an outstanding move. Outstanding move. Great way to honor Flip, and I'm glad to see the organization did that. Plus, the young man can coach.
Okay. Chris Long retires after 11th season. He was Walter Payton Man of the Year award.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kellen Winslow. Did you see that story?
Got problems. Yeah, you got some problems. Got some problems.
Yeah, 12 charges, 12 charges, 6 counts, rape,
shock
allegations,
Yeah.
kidnap, lewd conduct, and
That's crazy.
indecent exposure. 5 women have. Wow. Okay.
That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, that's crazy. Nothing like his father.
Yeah.
The playoffs, sweep, the sweep, Portland.
Yeah. I tell you
gone.
what.
Real quick, we can talk about it next week though, but real quick.
I just was surprised. I really thought in my mind that they would lose that game there in Portland and take it back home and win it. But I was impressed that they fought to the end, refused to give it up, and took it. Now they got 9 days of rest to get healthy and be ready to play.
Okay. 2-2. East.
What I thought it would be. I
Okay.
never thought that either one of them would run away with the other. I think it's going to be Nick and Tuck 7 games. They'll go down to 7 games. Game
Okay.
7.
All right. I, you think the home team is going to win each game? You think?
I think that's probably what's going to happen. But yeah, I'll say that just to make it interesting.
We can talk about next week. We can talk about KD coming back for the finals. They say there's a chance he may come back for the finals. Also, Boogie may be able to come back.
Boogie and because Damian Jones is already back. Iguodala would be back. He had a minor situation. He should be ready to go.
Okay.
Plus, they got 9 days to get ready. That's going to be interesting. Did you also see where Juwan Howard was named head coach at Michigan?
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah. He became
okay.
As assistant. He was assistant with the Heat, and now he's going to be the head coach. What a turnaround that was!
Wow.
Given all what has happened there for that to be there. Did you also see? Now, I find this interesting. We can talk about it more, but I want you to keep your eye on this. A young named Boogie Ellis was one of the top ESPN players. Had committed to Duke, decommitted from Duke, and is now going to University of Memphis with Penny Hardaway. Interestingly enough, Penny has one of the top recruiting classes.
Right.
Now, here's 2 interesting things I want you to take note of and keep. Number one, the AD after 7 years stepped down, red flag, and Butch Carter. Sam. What is Sam? It used to be a coach in Toronto. Sam Ellis, I think it is. He was assistant coach over at Memphis. He just stepped down. Second red flag. Watch out, and we can talk more about that. But keep your eye on that.
Okay.
Keep your eye on that. Also, Jason Kidd hired as an assistant to Jim Beelan, who left Michigan to take over the Cleveland Cavaliers. He had no problem in bringing on. No, I'm sorry, not Jason Kidd. J.B. Bickerstaff, who used to be the head coach.
I saw that
at Memphis, is now his assistant, and Jason Kidd went with Frank Vogel out in Laker Lane. So some interesting stuff going on out there. The NCAA investigation, they just nailed 2 or 3 more assistants. They're working their way up. They're gonna grab some top folk very soon. You're gonna be hearing about that. Lots going on out there. And
boxing,
some football.
Oh, real quick, this, and I know this is kind of like off the cuff. Did you know that Tim Duncan is training for MMA?
No, I did not.
Yeah. Can you imagine Tim Duncan MMA?
No, I cannot. The Tim Duncan in my mind can do a lot of things. MMA does not come to my mind.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna be in there long, but that's okay.
Well, Tim's an amazing guy. I don't know if he's that amazing.
Were you surprised the play of Draymond Green in the Portland series? Because that's the best I've seen him play in a while.
He's done some of that early on in other games, and one of the things I noticed real quick, if you're looking at the Warriors, and when they really decide to get after you, they really decide they're coming to get you. The ball's in Draymond's hand. Steph no longer brings the ball up. Draymond brings the balls up and distribute it, because those guys get their feet set and ready to shoot that basketball or whatever they have to do, and he's done. Maybe not to that level as you saw the other night, but he's done that in several games. So I was not surprised. I'm now understanding when the ball's in his hands, something good is about to happen. He passes well. He plays great defense. He's emotional. He made a decision that I think was probably the best decision he had ever made. Shut up and play. And boy, look what happened when he shut his mouth and started playing. So,
okay.
Hooray.
Real quick before we get out of here, we got to invite Marcia to the event in July. Quickly tell us about what's going on. Sports is more than just a game. It's the 16th annual, 17th, I don't forget whichever it is, but it's the Youth Summit, What's My Anti-Drug? Sports is more than a game. Tell us quickly how they need to come out.
Well, hopefully they'll come out and participate in the events that are taking place, and a great opportunity to interact with each other and hear some great information throughout the community. But this particular segment, we're going to talk with parents about their athlete, their young athlete, the student athlete that's in their house, and some of the pitfalls they should look forward to, be able to observe, recognize, get hopefully some helpful tips, answer some questions, share some information, and just in exchange with each other about the experience of student athlete and what they're facing, what the opportunities would be like. We're going to talk about when to be a student, a fan, and a coach. One of my favorite conversations. Look forward to having you. Look forward to come out and join us. I think you'll have fun with it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So with that, we're going to invite Marcia to come on next week.
Yes.
We get to have some more interesting stories. and I get to reminisce with her because there's some stuff that I remember back in the day when it comes to Linda Banks and, she's going to come to me in a minute. Cynthia Lukes. Mm-hmm. Oh, man. Mm-hmm. Vince? Hey.
Marcia got to share with you share with the audience her athletic prowess in her day too, because Marcia was athletic.
No. She was on the team with Linda Banks and Cynthia Lukes. They were all on the same team together.
But I'm just saying,
they had a powerhouse down there, and Cynthia Lukes was the real deal, man. I used to try to give that sister an elbow down there and move her. That was like moving a tree trunk down there. That man, I'm serious. That girl had game, man. She was out of Tampa, and I don't care what nobody say. She was the real deal. I don't care what nobody say, because I can't even put it into words. But that girl should have, like, if the game she had then, if she was playing, she would be in the WNBA, without a doubt. No if, no ands, no buts. Seriously. And you can ask Marcia about it.
Oh, no. Well, I know about Marcia, too, because Marcia come along at a time. I think if there are more opportunities and ladders for her to climb, she would have done that. She had some injury. She'll talk about that. But Marcia was a baller. She was a player.
But ask about Linda Banks and Cynthia Lukes. Ask about those two ball players that played with her at Cook.
We'll let her tell us about them.
Yeah. Okay. All right. With that being said, I'm Charles Morse. This is the original Coach Carter, where we come to you every Wednesday at 11 p.m. at Youth Central Sports. You make sure that you subscribe to us on YouTube. Make sure you hit the like button there on Facebook. We surely appreciate it. Periscope, Twitter, so on and so forth. So I would say sports is more than just a game.
More than just a game.
Everybody, enjoy the rest of your week.